Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Property Manager. This is episode number 58. My name is Eric Worrell. I work with rentprep.com, a tenant screening service, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Andrew Schultz. How you doing, Andrew?
Good. How are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully people don't lose this at any point because we did have it to kind of just drop off for a second, but we'll see how that goes. I got a couple hellos to start off the episode. What's going on, Jen?
Good morning, Jennifer.
I like she just goes with the eyeballs. I like that.
Yeah, she sees us.
Yes. And Jen, we all have lives. Don't worry about it. As a quick refresher, we go through questions in the Rent Prep for Landlords Facebook group. Andrew manages roughly 125 doors in the Western New York area. Not an attorney, but knows a lot about property management. So we'll give you advice and go through some of these questions and pull them up on screen now. Today we got 4 questions. If you guys have any questions, comments yourself, don't hesitate to comment below on our Facebook page link, not in the Facebook group. I don't think we'll be able to pull them up on screen from there,
Right.
but we'll try and answer those and address those as we go through the live broadcast. So, Andrew, without further ado, you ready for this?
Let's do this.
Yeah. I told you I was gonna be weird today. Not enough sleep last night.
Yeah, definitely not enough sleep.
Yeah. All right. It's funny because the first time you do these, you're kind of nervous. Now you're just like, man, I'm just being my weird self, you know?
Yeah, right.
We're on episode 58. All right. So this one comes from Lisa. She asks, I have a potential tenant that has asked to be able to pay 1 month security up front and another in 4 months. Has anyone done this? I'm considering doing it and taking the payments over the next 4 months, but how do you do that in terms of the separate deposit account?
Okay, don't. It's as simple as that. If they don't have, it sounds like she's charging like maybe first, last, and security, or maybe like first and a large security deposit or something like that. If they don't have all the funds in hand ready to move in, don't move them in, because you will never get those funds out of that tenant once they're living in the apartment. If they're trying to cut deals now, they're going to start trying to cut deals all the way through their tenancy, and it's just going to turn into a gigantic headache. Your best bet is to find another tenant who has the funds available for move-in and is ready, willing, and able to go. Make sure they pass through your selection criteria, and then get them in the unit. But I would pass on these people that need a payment plan on a security deposit, because you'll never ever get the rest of that security deposit money out of them.
Yeah, I would say there's little red flags and there's big red flags, and maybe a little one is they show up 2 minutes late for the walkthrough.
Right.
But this to me is a much bigger red flag than something like that, because that's, you know, their ability to afford rent and security deposits. So
yeah, they just don't have the money. It's that easy.
It's funny. Jen just beat you to it. She said they don't have the money.
Did she?
But she wrote obviously, where I don't know what you said after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that one's pretty you know, what do they say? Case closed.
Open and shut. Yeah, case closed.
Open and shut. Yeah. Gotta get some like little like sound effects for the show. Yeah.
Right.
I gotta get yeah, man.
You got to bring back landlord court. You could use the opening from Law and Order.
Dun 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 dun. Something like that.
Something along those lines.
All right. Let's move on to the next question. This one came from Steve. So Steve asks, when you reject a person, and I'm assuming he means who ran, you know, a credit check, not just in general. We're not, you know, a therapy line here. Do you provide or offer to provide them with a copy of the background and credit check report?
No, we don't. We send them their adverse action letter. And on that adverse action letter, we actually use Rent Prep. So it has the name, the phone number, and the address for Rent Prep's offices, so that you guys can provide them with a copy of the report. But I don't think we're allowed to provide that. I didn't think so. Yeah. So even if we wanted to provide the copy, we can't do it. It's against the terms and conditions that the credit agencies set forth. So it has to be Rent Prep that gives them that information, if the person even bothers to request it.
Yeah.
So just send your adverse action letter the way you normally would, and move on. Let somebody else deal with that tenant headache.
Yeah, a couple pieces of that. We have to actually verify their identity before we'll share that with them. So who knows? Like maybe you got somebody who shot you a text and it's the boyfriend or something. And, you never know who you're actually sending that information to unless
Right.
you're actually properly verifying them. And also, it's not a good idea to make a copy of that. Uh, if you're using RemPrep or most tenant screening services online, it exists inside of your members portal. There's a reason for that, so it's more secure. If you're
Mhm.
taking a screenshot of that and then emailing it to them in an unsecure manner, and somebody else picks that off,
Right.
you're opening yourself up to liability, or at the very least, an issue for this tenant that you just denied, who's
Yeah.
probably not happy with you to begin with. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't give them any more ammo than they need. Send them the adverse action letter and let the credit reporting agency um, deal with giving them a copy of the credit and the background check. Just take that liability off your plate entirely.
yeah, and on that specific post from Steve, I linked to a blog post on how to properly deny a tenant, and there's some generic forms in there that you can use. So if anybody happened to see that blog post, it's updated now, or excuse me, I see that comment in the Facebook group that's updated with that link to the blog post now.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. This question, the third one, comes from Kay, and we're going to cover up our faces here. So let's see if we can get through this. Got a longer one. So the tenant that lived only 1 year in my completely remodeled unit, new kitchen, new appliances, new bathrooms, flooring, etc., left my unit in otherwise fine shape with the exception of a front and center dent on the freezer portion of the new stainless steel fridge. She said her son accidentally fell into it, which is nice that she admitted to that. It's an eyesore and jumps out to you when you walk into this beautiful new kitchen. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
little afraid to try myself to get this dent out, knowing that I'll make it look worse. How would you proceed with this problem?
There's a couple different things you can do here. First off, the tenant should be charged for this damage. It's not normal wear and tear to fall into a freezer, I would say, and put a dent in the door. So it's definitely something that's a tenant chargeable item for sure. As far as options as to what you can do, you could take the door off the freezer and try to take it to like an auto body shop and see if they can use a dent remover to pull it. You can get a new part. If it's relatively recent, you can get it right from the manufacturer in most instances. One website that we like to use is Appliance Parts. Is it Appliance Parts Pros? Hang on 1 second. I got to look it up real quick.
I feel like I may have used this same site.
Appliance Parts with an S, pros with an S.com. Appliancepartspros.com. If you got the model number of the fridge, you could pop it right in there. And it actually will give you like a series of drawings, breakout drawings for the fridge. And then you can just pick the part that you need and have it shipped to you. And then you can install it from there. So that would be my recommendation. Either take it to an auto body shop if you don't feel comfortable trying to get it out yourself. They might be able to get it most of the way there or all the way there for a very minimal charge. Or you might want to just replace the door unit or whatever the skin on the door needs to be replaced. You might be able to find that on Appliance Parts Pros and just get the part and do it that way. I mean, I suppose you could call an appliance repair company. Chances are they're going to go to appliancepartspros.com and get the part and then send the part to you and do the exact same thing. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, I've used, I think it was Appliance Parts Pros. They have really good tutorials where
Mm-hmm.
if it's the one where you tell them what your problem is, and then they give you a percentage of what part might be the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound familiar?
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what it is people will actually like say afterwards, did this fix your issue? So like I had the light wasn't working, and it could be the bulb, it could be the light switch trigger, but
Mm-hmm.
on that particular model, it said usually it's the trigger. Have you
Mm-hmm.
tried the light bulb? And showed me exactly how to switch it, and it's super easy, and it was a couple bucks, and on with life. So that was pretty nice.
Yeah, that's not bad. We had a stove that we had to get a new stove knob for. And the knob was like $27 or something like that, some ludicrous amount of money for a stove knob. And it just, I mean, that part cost them 4 cents to manufacture. It was just a piece of plastic molded, injection molded plastic with some numbers on it. But it's just crazy what some of these parts cost.
Those silly things too are the ones that stick with you. You'll be like 85 years old and you'll be like, that one stove knob back in 2009.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That was probably 2 years ago that I had to buy that stove knob, but I know exactly what knob it was, exactly where it is on the stove, and exactly what it cost.
Yeah.
Just an annoyance,
Yeah. I'm going to spring a question on here for you. This is from Mike Reese. He's talking about online payments. So he says that Cozy and Zelle, which are popular for online payments, can have chargebacks up to 6 months later. What is the best way to accept online payments so they can't be reversed?
So I'm not super familiar with Cozy and Zelle. I've never used either one of those services, so I don't know how the chargebacks work or how far back you can do a chargeback on that stuff.
Mhm.
The property management software we're using is called AppFolio, and that has the ability to do either a receipt via like an ACH transfer, which would be with a checking account routing number and account number. The
Mhm.
other thing it does is they can do a credit or debit card through there for an additional fee, and then they basically just take their fee. They charge the fee to the tenant, and then we get what we're supposed to get in terms of the actual payment. So
Have you ever
those
had
are the
a
two
chargeback?
options we use. I've never had a chargeback on either one of those.
Okay.
My understanding is that with AppFolio, if there is a dispute, the dispute is between AppFolio and the processor and not necessarily us and the processor directly.
Mhm.
So I think that there's a little bit of added protection there.
Okay.
But for the most part, yeah, I don't think I've ever had a chargeback on somebody making a rent payment.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally, I use, oh gosh, it's escaping me now what I use. Oh, Venmo. But I have heard that it has a similar problem where if somebody wants to, dispute that last month's rent or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
they can go back and do that. One of the other issues I've heard with all these platforms too is if you're in the process of evicting somebody and they want to sneak in a partial payment,
Right.
depending on the state you're in, they might sneak in a $10 payment and all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
screw up the eviction process. So that's all stuff to look into. We're actually in the process of going back and looking at some old posts and working on them and doing some research on the specific topic. One of the things that I was interested in was Capital One that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to have sub accounts. Because one of the weird things is if like it's kind of weird giving people your routing number and bank account information,
Mm-hmm.
So what that allows you to do is I believe you have a different routing or bank account number for each sub account. So then it's not like you're giving them like your bank account information for all of your rent checks or all your
Mm-hmm.
rent payments. So
Yeah, that's kind of convenient.
yeah, I'm gonna look into that more and hopefully have some more information on that. I see Agiola said that she used Venmo yesterday for her tenant, and they paid me less than what was owed, and I had to return the payment within minutes because I don't accept partial payments, but that it was very efficient for that. So
Yeah.
that's good to know. Um, and then Jen says that she uses Zelle. I think that's how you say it for direct deposit of rent.
Mm-hmm.
Easiest thing ever. No fees, and the tenant just needs to send it to your name or phone number, no bank info needed, and sends immediately. So yeah, there's a lot of different services out there, but yeah, you got to do a little research and hopefully we'll have an updated blog post on that with more research. So
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
yeah. Also, Michael, if you're still watching, I'll send you a private message. He was asking about something pretty specific to window guards in New York City versus Westchester. We'll get to that just because I can't speak to that right now. I'll have to take a look at the blog post and get back to you. So I like this one because I always feel a little bit of a kindred connection with Erica's out there.
Mm.
They're similar. What's the female version of Andrew? Is there one?
I think it'd be Andrea.
Andrea? Yeah. Okay. So, well, Erica, she asks that she's in Los Angeles. She's
Mm-hmm.
feeling a little bit anxious because she has her first building inspection on Thursday. She bought this triplex 2 years ago and she keeps it in good shape. So I don't think the city will find much to disagree with. Yet I'm a bundle of nerves thinking that they will find something out of code that will cost me thousands. Any advice on getting through this? I know
Mm-hmm.
y'all are pros.
My first recommendation would be just walk into it with an open mind. More often than not, the city inspectors that are coming out are looking for a few key type items. Make sure your common areas are clean, no shoes, no debris, access to all the doors and everything is good. Make sure that your smoke and CO detectors are in compliance with whatever the code is in your area. Those are going to be probably the two major things that they look for.
Mm,
After that, they have a tendency to look at, stuff like chipping and peeling paint, like wildly unsafe type conditions, things like that. They're usually not out to bust balls unless they really find a reason to. More often than not, they're just there because they have to do their job. You're there because you have to do your job, and chances are you'll come through it just fine on the other side. In the event that they do find something, most municipalities are very, very good about working with you on a timeline to get the repairs done or something like that. So if it takes you a couple of months to get the funds together to do the repair work, as long as you're communicating with that township,
mm.
communicating with the inspections department, more often than not, they're going to give you the time that you need to get the work done. So there's, a little bit of help there. Hopefully, you get through it and everything runs nice and smooth for you. But even if it doesn't, hopefully it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and on a just a personal note, Erica, I'm also somebody who sometimes feels anxious about things, and sometimes just being aware of it, and then seeing how you feel during the process, and then just kind of recapping actually what happened has always been helpful for me because I find a lot of times you run into these situations where you get all worked up about it because you tell yourself this story of what's going to happen, and for
Mm-hmm.
me at least, the story never really lines up with what I was so concerned about. It's always not as bad or less than that. So you might have some of that going on, but I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
Andrew and I have been talking about meditation and different things lately. I feel like I have to say it while I'm like kind of laughing because I feel weird about it. But some of that stuff has helped me with anxiety with things and just being able to
Mm-hmm.
straighten out thoughts and not get too worked up and caught up in the narrative that I'm telling myself. So
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that's always stuck, I don't remember where I heard this, but fear, false evidence appearing real.
mhm.
You'll build up an entire storyline in your head as to how something's going to go. And more often than not, that never comes to be.
Yep.
So just walk into it with an open mind, see what they have to say. And at the very least, at least you'll know what to expect on the next one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I like that. I like that acronym. That's great.
yeah, I have no idea where I got that, but
Just take
that's fine
credit
now.
for it. That's what I do.
I came up with it.
Hey, to Jesse, what's going on, man? Local guy here in Buffalo, friend of mine from high school. He said he's old school, post dated checks. Good to hear from you, Jesse. Hope the rentals are going well for you. And do you know what ASMR videos are? I'm not even sure what those are.
That's the thing with the really quiet sounds or something, isn't it?
Oh, it's like soothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, I'll have to check them out.
There you go.
Cool. All right. All right, Jesse, we'll finish with you on this. My man. I can picture him saying it because Jesse's kind of got that like flavor a little bit. My man.
My man.
All right, guys. Well, until next week, enjoy the rest of your week. And if you have any questions, you can join the Rent Prep for Landlords Facebook group. Check it out. There's tons of people answering questions in there. And Andrew also picks 3 to 4 questions each week that we do on these live videos. I think next week we're going to try and bring in an extra property manager. We're going to see about that, but I've been talking to somebody. So thinking about ways to spice it up and change things up a little bit. But Andrew and I will be here as always. So yeah, until next
Nice.
week. Thanks for your time, Andrew, and your insights as always.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
All right. See ya.